Hi, everybody. This is Steve Olson and Wayne Steiger from WSO.
How you doing, Steve?
Doing great, sir. How are you?
Doing well, my friend. Doing well. Did you get some rest?
Are you? Yes, I did, and I'm ready to do some updates because we have a lot of information to share that both Wayne and I pulled together over the last couple of days.
Been an amazing couple of days, Steve.
It has been, and it just stands to reason that there's a lot of conflict and a lot of controversy right now, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But it just seems that the more real this is becoming in terms of our scientific data validating it, Wayne, doesn't it seem like tensions also seem to be rising in the Earth?
It does. It does. It's almost like a pressure cooker, and the pressure inside the cooker, there's not a relief valve, and you can see it. You can.
So Wayne, this is a picture that a series of pictures that you captured this weekend, I think, right? The first thing that we're going to look at.
Yeah, most of our subscribers are familiar with the ISS. We all see it, but I got to tell you, it's been some very strange going on. And so, Steve, I took this yesterday, and so that everyone can see, this is actually the Earth right here, this white fuzzy line. Now, Steve, I thought this was very odd because everything that we have been dealing with in so many other areas that we'll be talking about today, there's something going on up here. And watch this, Steve, watch. So here comes this. Now, Steve, look at this. That almost looks like it's a direct focus beam, right? Not the way that the sun typically disperses out on the planet and goes from a central core. This looks like a direct beam, and watch what happens here. All right, so now the sun is moving supposedly back on the backside of the space station, but Steve, what is this? What's going on here? That is impossible, folks, because here's the point. The space station is not, at least the last I checked, was not a saucer or had a completely spherical shape to it. And watch this, Steve. Are you believing that?
I don't even know what to say about it. And then the second thing that I noticed about the video too, there's a device up in that upper right-hand corner.
Yeah, look at that. Now, excellent point. Look at that. What is that doing?
Yeah, what is that doing? It almost looks like it's projecting, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
I'm not suggesting it is, but now go back a couple of frames, and the other thing I wanted to point out was look at the strong halo that we get from space again. So, guys, when we talk about that halo, which, by the way, is very strong in Colorado today, you can see it.
Very.
Red halo around the sun does appear to be coming from space when you look at these types of images, too.
And particularly when you see that type of a direct beam almost. But, Steve, this is, and we've got something else that will collaborate with this a little bit later on. So I wanted to show that to you. What is that? I mean, look at that. Because there shouldn't, folks, the sun is supposed to be over here. Trust me, the space station is not that big, and we should still see the effects of the sun coming from behind, but we're not.
Yeah, yep, exactly. And again, just very odd. I can't say that this is directly related to Nibiru or to Wormwood, but it's extremely interesting, and it kind of points to technology up there too, Wayne.
Absolutely. And then, Steve, we have this little tidbit.
Oh,
so I sent this to you.
Yep.
Everyone look right here. And this is a defined orbit. I think for once, Steve, we can actually see what a defined orbit. Now, some people have suggested this could be the moon. I want to tell everyone we have looked into that, and the moon would not, this is a southern hemisphere view. So just to kind of give you an idea of where we're looking at, watch this, Steve. Now here's when things start getting a little strange. Watch Steve here, because remember, about 10 frames ago, we were looking at a completely very clean Earth, right?
Right.
So pay attention right here, everyone, and see what begins to happen here. What's going on here, Steve? Look at that.
It could be the sun going out of frame to the South Pole, or it could be something eclipsing that area of light.
Well, then explain this to me.
Yeah, what is that thing, man?
I'll tell you what, it's on the end of one of those remote arms. But I'm going to tell you what, my friend, I've been studying that, and I have never seen anything like this. And Steve, I'll tell you this, I've gone back in my archives, and remember when I did the diagram back in, I think it was March, and where we saw the malfunction of whatever it was that was projecting what we thought was the sun and ended up being a screen. We saw something almost look like it was plasma melting. Steve, I think this may be the source of our artificial sun.
I thought so too, and it's such. But again, you know, is this? Are they deploying technology to obfuscate what is up in the sky? If you have a reasonable, I mean, any reasonable person that looks at chemtrailing and the kinds of things that we've seen from the ISS and other things, the conclusion would have to be that they're obfuscating stuff.
Well, and Steve, when you said that this could just be a sunset, here's the problem with that. The sun is up here, so by the direction of everything, it's heading up to the 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock position. If that's the case, you would see a more gradation of darkness that would be in line with the symmetrical part of the globe, not this.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is that little orb that went by related to that? Or are we seeing just a little part of that orb, perhaps? Or is that orb enough to cause that kind of an eclipse on the bottom of the Earth?
Well, I reversed the picture, and all I did was just turn the gamma up in this. That's all I did. And there it is.
Yeah.
And we can actually blow that up. There it is.
Yeah, it's got a very reddish color around the outside of it.
It does.
Mm.
So I'm going to turn this back over to you for the moment. Oh, I'll tell you what. I have one other thing I wanted to show you before I turn this back over.
Please
do. I wanted to show you what I captured yesterday, my friend. And check this out.
This is when I was sleeping, probably.
Yes.
Holy crap.
Look at this, Steve. And
so, if you're new to the show or haven't seen this before, everybody, this is meteors.com, basically livemeteor.com. And what this is a transmitter that's transmitting out at 55.24, which is a VH band. And then it measures the amount of return signals that come back to a receiver placed on the other side of the ocean. And it tells us what's up in the atmosphere. There's something up in the atmosphere or upper atmosphere. When something like a meteor goes through, you can actually see a little line develop on this thing. Number two, just to give you a reference, when the Treblinsk meteor hit a couple of years ago in Russia, that was a 2-minute return. This is unprecedented. Go ahead, Wayne.
Well, it went for hours, and I'll pause it right here for a second. Give me 1 second to turn down that sound for you. So what we have going here, Steve, is it's alarming only because of the fact of what we're seeing. And this is just off the scale. So I have a person who is Navy SEAL, and our military and ex-military subscribers know the elite branches, they're trained in many different disciplines. Each person is the group, but each individual possesses a certain skill that aids to the group. This one happened to know and be able to read radar. You know, when you're out there in a tough situation, they got these portable pack. Anyway, this, as he pointed out here, is very disturbing. What we have here is a return that is showing very strong, it's hitting something. And
hey, Wayne, everybody, just not to interrupt you, but everybody says that these big returns are sporadic E, or that ion cloud thing. What did he have to say about that?
Okay, very good point. And as he basically told me, I understand that you don't understand. So sporadic E would be basically scattered ions hitting the ionosphere, protons reacting to that. You would have not readings of a solid line, like particularly when you're starting to bleed over into the other bandwidths here. It's scattered ionization, and it would just basically come through. You wouldn't see it. It doesn't stay in one place. It's moving constantly. Doesn't stay in one spot. And these type of returns, as he pointed out to me, this is massive. It's huge. And he said if this was a battlefield situation, all hell would be breaking loose. And when you hear the audio on this, you hear that? That's solid. And what you're getting here is, it's big enough that there you go. When you get these type of returns, he's saying it's big, very big.
All right, so we've had two different trained radio technicians call now, talk to us about it, and I'm a radio technician as well, and I also will say that you do not get that kind of a return on sporadic E. Sporadic E has been ruled out as a source of this signal. Just wanted you all to know that. And so what we are looking at, and the other thing that happens with this image, a lot of times is it goes away for a while, and then it comes back, and that would indicate that the object is moving around in an orbit around us.
I believe so, Steve. I think we're going to begin to see this. Now, let's just stop and look at two things before we move on here.
Sure.
So we've seen number one, and by the way, there are others who have captured that same object from different cameras in different positions on the ISS. So that tells me it's not an anomaly by lens flare or something else. It shows that it's really happening. Also, we're seeing on the live meteors detector, something is up there. I mean, you know, listen, if there is someone else who has a different opinion, a good scientific one, show us the mechanics, please. We don't want to be ignorant on this. We want to make sure that what we're hearing is correct. So anyway, Steve, until someone shows us differently, I am concluding we're tracking something above us.
Correct. That is exactly what I think too. It's either some type of natural. Obviously, now we're in terms of deductive logic. If we believe, and I do, that we are tracking a solid object, which I do, could it be the Chinese space station?
No, and here's the reason why. I recently looked. That craft is still in, it's basically doing an up and down type orbit. All right, that would show a signature. Second, that craft, as it begins to drop out of the satellite range and get into the upper parts of our atmosphere, it's going to be more or less skipping. And on top of that, Steve, that little thing is moving probably by that point 15, 16,000 miles per hour, which means, folks, that within a second period of time, it's moved about 11 miles. And you would not begin to track it because an orbit around the globe is 90 minutes. So how could we be tracking something that would be a spacecraft falling if its orbit is still going to be 90 minutes, right?
Right.
We were tracking this for what? One time we tracked this thing for, I don't know, 16 hours.
Yeah, 16 hours, and it was almost the whole time. It was this this heavy line. So here, in conclusion, everybody, livemeteor.com, as we've been taught by many amateur astronomers and engineers and people that I've learned, if you want to know when a meteor hits the atmosphere, just listen to livemeteor.com. So as an amateur astronomer myself, I have that thing on all the time. All of a sudden I get a subscriber note, go look at it right now. A couple days ago, it was that big red return. We've been studying it. We've been ruling out sporadic E. We've ruled out that it's the Chinese space station. And again, the reason why this is important is because we're tracking a large object over the Earth. Is it a natural object or is it a man-made object? That's the next question I go to.
Now that one, I don't know, sir. But it does sound like the imagination, does it not?
It does, and so let's keep our eyes peeled and see, what we can come up together with as tens of thousands of WSO subscribers and listeners all around the world. If you see anything floating around up in the atmosphere, give us a ring, talk to us now. Anyway, Wayne, I've got this really interesting picture up here. This weekend, I know you were telling me you're trying to get sunspots with your telescope. How did that experiment go?
Went really well.
Were you able to catch sunspots?
Well, I did. I absolutely did. And apparently, when I sent you some pictures, believe I caught something else. I did not know I caught this.
So this is the picture now. So if the picture from the ISS was the picture of the week last week, this is the picture of the month.
Well, all I can tell people is the telescope I have is an Orion. 6.5-inch refractor. This is a apparatus, a lens that's put on top of the eyepiece. And so what we're actually seeing here is, in fact, I meant to bring in the filter I was using on this. And this is what we're getting. That is the sun. And it's taken the stills right directly from what the telescope is seeing.
Okay, so that's a lens flare then?
I don't know. Do telescopes do lens flares?
No, I'm being facetious. The first thing I noticed when I saw this, and everybody, I'm being facetious, there's actually two things going on in this photo. Number one, there's some kind of a blue background to the left of the sun that has that strange surface on it that we've been seeing in so many photos. That is not from the telescope. Wayne cleans his lenses. He's a perfectionist. That is something that is up there.
Yeah, and if anyone loves to come on over. We'll go through the cleaning test to show you. But yeah, I do. These are meticulously maintained.
So everybody, this is a telescope image from an amateur astronomer. You know, the ones that were supposed to send off the warning bells when they started seeing this thing? This is 10 a.m. Mountain Time, United States. Saturday, and that would have been July 16th, 2016 when he took this.
Yep.
So we are seeing a multicolored orb, and it's at 10 a.m. in the morning. I want to mark that. Anybody that has the ability to look at the sun in the northern hemisphere in the morning time, such as Wayne has done here, we'd like to see if we can get another photograph of this object. But I want to show you something that corroborates with this, Wayne, that's going to blow your mind.
Okay.
So everybody got a good look at our telescope image, but before I get off of this, I want to get in really close to that object. Wayne, there are little squiggly lines all over the surface here.
There are.
Wow.
Now look at that.
We captured some object next to the sun, my friend. It's not next to the sun, by the way. At least in my opinion. In my opinion, it's behind the sun because it's being illuminated 100% like a full moon. It would have to be behind the sun to be fully illuminated.
That's amazing.
Wayne, I congratulate you on this. This is a wonderful, wonderful capture. So now the mind-blowing part, the corroboration part, right? So this is same about approximate time. Let's make sure we get but it's on Sunday. Actually, I'm sorry. This is in the afternoon on Sunday, and this is looking west. Yours was looking east, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
I want you to notice the orb in the middle of the upper middle part of the upper left part of the frame. Again, the sun appears to go in front of it, otherwise I wouldn't get that full illumination.
Yeah.
Again, here are the colors coming out, and I'm going to bump those up so you can see them a little bit. See, the color's the same.
Look at that.
And I'm going to stop on this next one. We're going to play with it a little bit. See, there's the stripes on it.
Yeah. See, I just don't see that as a lens flare. I just...
Oh, absolutely not. And the point I wanted to make is this object appears to be sitting still when the sun goes by it. That's us, or that's us doing our rotation. The sun's not moving. The Earth is rotating. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
The other thing we see is you can see down here in the waves, you can barely pick it up. You can actually see some of the reflection of that green thing up there too. And then once it goes over, there's that weird flare that we got from Newmeyer again.
Yeah.
But there's that, and let's go back to your picture again. In fact, I'll just try to see if we can do some comparing here. Why did I close that picture? Here it is. Let's zoom in on it.
Look at that.
And then we'll just get the this up. I'll do this again. Well, you guys are just not cooperating.
No, you're testing us to see how we do on our vertigo test.
I'm making the hypothesis that it's the same object.
Look at that.
It's the same basic color pattern, and that's what I'm trying to show. There we go. That's how side by side.
There you go. Well, my friend, I believe we're getting more and more confirmations just from all over the place and in many different places.
To get a telescope, to get a good telescope image, this is, by the way, the exclusive property of WSO. All rights will be, copyright rights will be maintained. And the reason for that, guys, is it's not a money issue for me. It's the fact that I don't want somebody to go out there and say something about this while they're showing it that may not be true. Wayne was the one who took this picture. He's the only expert that can speak to it. I'm just doing an observation of these little lines that we see on it and seeing it in this FAA cam also as well. And especially when you get in this position here, and I'll just back it up here so we can look at it and zoom in. See, we're getting the same basic effect. Here's what I'm trying to show, is that we're getting also those little lines. See that?
Yeah, it's right there.
I believe what we're looking at is an object behind the sun. I cannot tell you what the distance is, but I believe that if people will do the due diligence that you did and try to use their telescopes to see it next to the sun, that I think is our best bet for astronomy.
Yeah, and I'll give everyone, if you want to know the lenses I'm using, the solar refractor I'm using, be more than happy to. And, if we could just get people to begin to set up their telescopes and just begin to do some tracking, both in the infrared with the lenses that you can get. Steve, I think look at that. It could be great.
I just bumped up the saturation a little bit. And again, you can see there's a larger blue thing in the back too there. Again, just the same exact, kind of conditions that we saw with your telescope image, where we have some blue, and I'll zoom out on this for a second so you guys can see what I'm talking about. But do you notice how I've got that really heavy blue component there when I bump up the saturation? I also have a similar effect in the photograph from the FAA. I have that same blue thing with some kind of surface on it. Anyway, again, this is just fascinating stuff, Wayne. This to me is the best evidence. Again, I think today we achieved the best evidence so far.
Well, there's something out there. That's all I know. And I'm going to continue to do that when the conditions are. Saturday was just a perfect day for us up here. So, Steve, I believe that we'll just continue to document it, at least from WSO. And we certainly want others to send comparative work, or hey, if you think that you have an explanation, talk to us.
So Wayne, this picture is from Germany. It's one of those photo cams that they have, and that's the website there if you want to go look at it yourself. And basically you can program, they're really nice about keeping archives on these German cameras. It's the efficiency of the Germans. I know I'm half German. So basically, I'm just making a joke. But basically what we have on this picture that's very interesting is a couple of things. Number one, I've got like an orb image with another orb in front of it, and I also have the shadow in the water, or the reflection in the water somewhat. And then I have the same reflection down here in the water, okay? I have obviously something black up here, and I've got 3 orbs in the background. I think this was a really good capture, the most compelling of which is this big circular cloud object.
Okay, so let's just stop here, because, you know, what people, I can see where people would come and say, well, you know, could be the fact that, you know, it's on a lake, the lens has got spots on it, and, you know, they just need to come and clean the lens. Okay, that is one thought. But then there's another thought. What is it, do we know for a fact, is an object only an object because it's seen in the visible spectrum of the human range?
Now, Wayne, I played with the exposure. As everybody can see, you can look at what I did. I just bumped the contrast way up to see what else was there. Coincidentally, I have 1, 2, 3 chemtrailers. I have a potential 3-orb, 4-orb configuration. I've got a large cloud object, and then I have something that looks like it moved from here to here. And there again, you know, look, I don't know how you get lens flares like this, guys. That's why I'm bringing this out. And, you know, there's a lot of people that are saying, Steve, don't show the questionable photos, only the slam dunks. I believe this is a slam dunk photo. And the reason for that is because look at this huge thing, and it's visible without doing any photo manipulation whatsoever, okay? These other objects are visible with no photo manipulation whatsoever. Their shadows are seen in the water with no photo manipulation required. So whenever I see those 3 things on one of these webcam images, and I actually can see I'm always looking for the shadows in the water. If there's no shadows in the water, I usually just say it's a lens flare. These are not lens flares. I stake my professional reputation on it, okay? And I've literally looked at tens of thousands of photographs. And the people that keep telling me that that's a lens flare, that's a lens flare, sometimes there are lens flares on the photos that Wayne and I show. Usually I'm not pointing that out. Usually there's another thing on the photograph. So pay attention when I'm talking, because I may not be talking about that obvious lens flare. I might be talking about something like this very obvious large red cloud in the photo.
And Steve, if I may inject here, the great philosopher and historian from the 1st century, Philo of Alexandria, he said that the thing that most people are unaware of is that the air is filled with living things. And again, I point out, just because we can't see it in the visible light spectrum does not mean that it's not there.
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up, because I think it's time for us to take a little look at the light spectrum. Do you mind?
Let's do.
Let's see.
By the way, sir, I think that's a champion of an idea.
Okay, well, I actually have a slide ready for this. If God willing, we were going to be able to find it. Because you know how I am. I'm so organized.
Well, God knows where it's at. It's just that you don't know where it's at.
Well, I'm not going to say,
hey, bud, you're not waiting on me.
I will have a lesson on the light spectrum for the next video, I promise everybody, because I did get an image for it, and I want to go through it and show it to everybody, but we can only see a small part of the light spectrum. And
I'll put it this way, Steve. Yeah. When you show that, I had a physicist tell me, he said, you just draw a line from New York City to Los Angeles. In the middle of that line, you find where it is, you find it, you set an edge of a dime on the edge of the middle of that line, and that's the human ability to see the light spectrum.
Okay, Wayne, this is one more here. I'll show you from the Addicted Sports webcams out of Ammersee, and you can see that the date's down here and whatnot, so if you want to go look at it yourself, you can. But
this is Europe. right?
What's that?
Europe?
Europe, yeah, Germany.
Yep.
And basically what we have is this red orb on the left, fast-moving red orb.
I've looked at that, and folks, all I can say, it certainly looks real on that. And
well, I've got reflection in the water again.
yeah,
See?
you do. Yeah, I see it.
And that's what I look for, okay? I'm always looking to see, does it reflect in the water? If it doesn't reflect in the water, you know for darn sure it's a lens flare. That's why I think this could be a lens flare, but I keep looking in the water. Look in the water with me. The part that shows up is...
Steve, is that casting a shadow?
No.
Casting a reflection.
Yep, so first things first is we've got this up in here, and then you back it up one, and then I've got this red thing, which I don't believe is an object. I believe that's a lens flare. But this other thing seems to be reflecting into the water. So those are the kinds of things I look for.
So here's a question that I have as I was looking at this. All right, we know objects can show up in the UV extreme or the infrared extreme. If a camera is picking up light in multiple light spectrums through here, Steve, hear me out. Final thought on this.
Okay.
So if an object shows up in the IR, would it not still cast a shadow, a reflection?
Yes, it would.
It would. Of course it would.
It would.
Okay.
So one of the other things I wanted to go back to, this is from last week's time. This was the photo of the week where I just played with the, the saturation on it and all that kind of stuff and came up with this orb in the background. Remember this one?
Yeah.
So what I didn't tell everybody was there's also stuff off to the left too. I just didn't want to get into it. That's how bad I am. I was so freaked out by the red orb, I didn't want to go in and play with the other ones. So I wanted to show those to you guys as well. I'm not laughing because I'm nervous a little bit. Not scared, but just, this is a very wild capture in here, okay? And I didn't really zoom in on that, but why am I getting these stripes and an apparent moon here? And then I've got this blue orb with this little moonish thing that's actually eclipsing the side of it. So there's a lot going on in this photograph in addition to this huge red object. So, Wayne, are these, do you think these things are right on our back door right now? Do you think that they're like almost touching the earth?
Well, after what I saw this weekend, Steve, I'm becoming convinced that answer is yes. Listen, unless someone can come and define for us the two videos and the stills that I showed at the beginning of the program, those look like something is either eclipsing. So either I can say it's an anomaly of the camera, or we can say, well, it may be an artificial sun that they're messing with, or, gee, in all possibilities, Steve, it could be a freaking planet out there. And maybe not just one, but a lot of friends.
Yeah, this one's interesting because it almost seems like we're catching the horizon of another thing. But guys, I'm just trying to show you that there's, the funny thing is we get from the history side and the prophetical side, or people that have had dreams and visions, and I know you can all dispute this one if you want to. It was a green, a red, and a blue object is what they saw in their visions. This is why this one, another reason why this is getting to me a little bit in terms of just its efficacy towards this whole thing, right?
And just to those who may kind of try to debunk that, listen, I get back, Steve, to the video we watched of the astrophysicist when she was giving her lecture on what they had found in the KBO. And listen, she said it right there, that they were finding exoplanets that were as big as our solar system. Now, that's almost inconceivable to us. So, Steve, my question is, why, if we can see this happening within our galaxy, within the Milky Way, why do we think that our little patch of the outback out here is exempt from all of this that's going on already right next door to us?
Right. I'm totally in agreement, and I believe that they were even talking about planets as big as our solar system in that last scholarly work that they were talking about with Kepler in terms of size of planets and all that. So here's from Savannah Skies yesterday, I believe. Yeah, I know for sure it was. Yeah, it was today actually. Today, yesterday, it's Australia. Okay, they don't know what day it is. Anyway, so let's just look at this one for a second. Now, I've seen a lot of Skycam images, Wayne. I've never seen one that did this before.
Look at that.
What's going on in this, I wonder? And so I want to play around with this one a little bit with you on the line, because I just want to see what we can bring out of this.
Let's do that.
But again, I'm only playing with contrast and saturation. But what would, see, this is the starting one, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. See? Doesn't it almost seem like they're like pressing the sky back or something? I don't know what the heck's the, you know what I mean? I think there's a, are they repairing a hole?
Look at this. Go back to the beginning.
Okay, yeah, beginning. Here's the beginning.
Okay, so let's stop right there. So, okay, the sun is over here. I see it off to the, what is that, the northeast?
Yep, it just has risen because it's, this is always shows local time. So this is 10:30 local time, Savannah Skies.
Okay, so look what we have here, Steve. Go to your X mark and look at, there we go, and then start counting upward. You can actually, there you go. Could these be possible UFOs?
That's what I'm thinking too. I'm thinking, are these, my first thought was, is this some type of tear in the shield or whatever that they're looking at? Now, the second thing I want you to notice is, you notice how the sun actually is partially, apparently blocked by the side of this. We've seen this thing in the images on the Skycams for a long time, this multiple orb, multiple cloud formation thing, okay? I just wanted to point out that the sun is bouncing off of that.
Well, didn't we see something similar to that on the ICE International Space Station?
We did. It's another clue. It's another.
Yes, I'm just saying. I'm picking up breadcrumbs here, brother. That's all.
I am too, man. But all right. So anyway, let's blow it up in whatever's going on in this middle frame here.
Look at that. You see?
And let's play with that.
I think we're seeing a craft or several.
Looks like they both converge on that little dot.
Uh-huh.
And then they split.
Uh-huh.
And then they apparently come back together again.
Or they phase out.
It's just some interesting footage. That's all I got to say. And let's go back and see that general. See how they're like. It almost seems like they're making something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or repairing something. It looks like a repair to me.
I agree.
That was a repair of some sort. And then finally, this little image here. This is off of our. I can't remember which Skycam. This is Central Time. Oh, Moonglow, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And this is just from yesterday. But check out all the activity going on in this photograph. So a lot of folks have been seeing this orb structure with the tail behind it recently. We've been looking at this green planet, I believe, all day.
Steve, is this the southern hemisphere?
Nope, this is in the northern hemisphere. So this is actually pretty similar to where you live, later in the day. And when you did your telescope image, that was when the sun would have been coming up here.
Yep.
Okay. And that object is the same. I believe the same object. I don't believe that's a refraction. I believe that is the same thing we've been looking at all morning.
Well, the pictures we're getting, particularly from Europe, I went back over the weekend and just did some studying, and there is, depending on what your theory is, if you're a 36, 3500, 360 year, whatever. My point is that Germany, back in the 1600s, when some think that this system came through on a passing, they were at the core of all the activity. Look at that, Steve. So this is not surprising to me.
And it's got that, remember how on yours it almost seemed like it had some trailing matter behind it?
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
I'm going to turn the screen back over to you so we can finish up with looking at, well, actually, I've got that one. So I want to put up the telescope image again here because, my gosh, guys, this is really the best we can do, guys. I don't know how we can do any better in terms of showing you that there's an event getting ready to happen. And we don't know if it's going to be, you know, in 3 weeks or 3 months or 3 years. All I can tell you is that we've captured this thing coming in since we started seeing it in February, March.
Yep, we did.
Gotten progressively larger and larger and larger, okay? That I can tell you. And then we get this picture, and then we get Wayne's telescopic image that seems to corroborate with that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this image back to its original settings here. No, that is actually its original setting. This is the original setting, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to up the exposure a little bit, and you can see that, oh my, I think it's the same object.
Yeah, I think it is too.
So this is what amateur astronomers would do is we've triangulated. We've got the all-sky cam imagery, we've got handheld photography, we've got a FAA webcams, which is a government-operated website. We've got, and then we've got this telescopic image corroborating this object that seems to be getting closer and really much easier to see every day.
Yeah, and I encourage other subscribers, if you're out there and you've got your telescopes, be safe, make sure you got the right covering, but we need to start tracking that. And Steve, it's the only way if we can collect the information in a single data source where we know it's coming from a single source, this case WSO, we should be our own early warning system.
That's what we're setting up to do, Wayne. I'm glad you brought that up. So let's talk a little bit about channel news a little bit. WSO channel news. So our groups have gone well over 220 now, worldwide groups. So WSO just doesn't show pictures, guys. What our plan and our goal is to be strong for our community, which is one of the reasons that we last week had to defend the community when Tyler came out with his tirade on Secure Team. And if that offended anybody, I want you all to know that I called Wayne and we prayed about it first, didn't we, Wayne?
Yeah.
And it seemed very clear to both of us, at least to me, and I thank you too, Wayne, it seemed very clear to us that we were supposed to be the spokesperson for the whole Nibiru community at that point.
Well, we need, our community needs a voice.
Right. And I didn't mean to presume that I was that voice, but at the current time, I felt like I had enough critical mass with my audience that I really felt like I could make Tyler reconsider. And that's why I did what we did was because we felt like we needed to it was completely unfactual video. I'm not upset about it anymore. In fact, I'm looking forward to talking to Tyler soon to see if we can find some way to work together with Secure Team so that when we get UFO images and things like that he's got a direct pipeline to us, okay? Because we get a lot of UFO stuff, right? Yeah. Number two, I want you to know that we're all learning, and that includes Tyler. And we make a lot of mistakes. We get called out for our mistakes pretty hard, though. You know, and we don't mind that because it's making us better. But at the end of the day, we're all in this boat together. And I want you guys to know I have no animosity towards any other researcher or artist or producer out there. We honestly don't have any animosity if they take a position against Nibiru or against this approaching system, which we're documenting today almost to an undeniable level. However, everybody has a right to their opinion, and I don't mind if your opinion is opposite mine. Just don't use flimsy facts. You know what I mean? And I still challenge anybody that wants to come on my show and debunk. I want you to debunk these two photographs. The one from the telescope, this is exclusive WSO photo that Wayne took, and or the FAA cams and or the all-sky cam corroboration. If you can tell us that this is not a plane, this is not an object that doesn't belong in our solar system and doesn't belong next to our sun, et cetera, we'd love to hear from you.
We would. I think, and it again, coming back to the point of, you know, preparing. This is what it's about.
Right.
And, you know, I think we all should understand. You know, Steve, I just want to reminisce the story that being in New York City back in 2000, I think it was 2003, when that solar flare hit the Northeast. And, you know, it was all kind of cool for about the first 30 minutes until you realized that your room is 34 stories up. And they're not letting you up. My point is, we're here to help prepare, and we all should be more prepared.
Yeah, and that's why we started the WSO groups, you guys. And it's a very loose organization. It's not regimented at all. What we're trying to do is find local people, which we've done, that are gathering together like-minded people in their area so they can start talking about and sharing preparation and getting ready for a potential event, making some plans just in case something happens. And to me, it's just prudent behavior.
You know, Steve, when you just said that, the thought just occurred to me. Everyone should take their video cameras, get yourself and your family, and go out in the backyard and try to start a fire without matches, without a lighter, and let's see how far you get, how long it takes. That's my point.
Right. Actually, that's a good way to test yourself. So go out, without anything but you're just yourselves, go out and try to start a fire.
Yeah. That kind of tell you on the old meter where you need to start brushing up those skills, which is good for all of us to learn. It's practical.
It is, right. It doesn't hurt anybody to learn how to can food either.
Hey, listen, I happen to be a big believer of that, and it's better for you.
So, so we're going to keep doing the groups. We're going to keep having more and more content for the groups. And another thing, Wayne, is we're planning a national tour actually to go out in the field and go meet with a couple of our groups and local area listeners and subscribers as well. We'll have announcements by the end of the week on that.
Oh, that looks to be fun. And, you know, and Steve, for myself personally, I'm looking forward of taking the class on getting a ham radio license. I think it's something that we all should be able to know how to operate, and I get real encouraged about it. Oh, thank you for bringing this up. So that's my point. This is
right,
what
we forgot one thing, guys. I'm sorry. We're just about ready to close out, but I had to bring up this last thing because Wayne and I had it on the list. And Wayne, can you tell us and talk to us a little bit about what's going on with the jet stream right now? And I got to inspect it again, so just give me 1 sec. Oh, yeah, of course you're going to do this to me.
Of course.
I want to make sure I'm sharing it properly. Okay, now let's talk about the jet stream.
Let's talk about this. As they would say back in the day, folks, we got trouble right here in Windy City. We got a jet stream that seems to be, how shall we say, Steve, mirandering. And in this case, it's not just mirandering. If you look over, Steve, at the eastern side of Africa, thank you, you can actually see that that's coming from the jet stream above India, and it's whooping around right there in Taiwan, coming across India, going across the Indian Ocean. Look what's happening. It goes right off the coast of Africa and gets caught up into the southern branch. All right, I understand, folks, I have read, and I'm not an expert, neither is Steve, but here's the point. This is a clear intermixing of the northern and southern jet stream.
It is. And the second thing to say about this, and we're trying to get more meteorology input on this, but having an opposing jet stream going the opposite direction in the middle equatorial region of the Earth, we also have heard that that's not normal.
Yes. And look what's happening up there near the North Pole. So I don't know if all of y'all heard the reports, what happened on Saturday up at Dead Horse. That is the furthest last population center before you hit the North Pole. They reached an all-time record high of 85 degrees on Saturday. Steve, that is unprecedented. And look at the vortex that has formed right up there. Look at the wind, particularly over at the 2 o'clock position. That is howling, folks, and it's swinging right into this disruption of the jet stream. And Paul, big shout out to you, my friend. I've been watching your videos.
Yeah, Paul's been the big educator on that, and so we're at the 250 millibars. Just for people's notes, this is the altitude that they look at the prevailing jet streams. We've got the 2 jet streams that are being shown in each of the hemispheres, which are a little bit weird, as Paul has told us, and this middle thing is completely weird.
It's completely.
That's what the meteorologist said. Good place to close up. Did you have any last thoughts, Mr. Wayne?
Yes, Steve, I think I'll take the lead on this one. You know, folks, we do not want anyone to be afraid. Tyler, I understand where you were coming from, buddy. Listen, when you are passionate, when people are afraid of things, I get it. But I also know that knowledge is the best weapon for that. And folks, you know, at some point in time, the scales become so overwhelmingly unbalanced with the evidence. And you have to say something is happening. And Steve, you say this all the time. If it was to happen today, would you be prepared? That's all I got to say.
Well, I don't think I can add to anything to that, except for the first step in preparation for anybody should be a relationship with your God. And I mean, get as close to as possible as you can. And in my case, it's Jesus. Yeah, it's Yeshua. But I would encourage you, he's definitely open armed for everybody to come to him. But that's a great way to get to God, and I highly encourage it. With that said, I'm going to say good day to you, sir, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Steve. Best to you, my friend.
Why do I keep doing that?
Love you, man. That was cool.
Yeah, it was another good show, man.
Great show.
We're getting good at this.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to get to the point